today, guys, I don't know if you know this, it is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. On this annual day of commemoration, the United Nations General Assembly urges everybody to honor the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and millions of other victims of Nazi persecution, and to develop educational programs to help prevent future genocides. You know, it's very interesting. My family was all here in America during the Holocaust, so we
Oh, they were?
Yeah, so
okay.
We didn't have to escape anything. Both sides of my family, mother and father's side, they immigrated to the United States in the late 1800s from somewhere in Eastern Europe. And I'm not even sure where, somewhere in Eastern Europe. And they came for an economic opportunity. And they were given that economic opportunity by the United States, just like your family immigrated from Ethiopia and Nigeria, and Vanessa, your family immigrated from the Dominican Republic. And had my family not immigrated, you know, you think about it, one generation, had they not been smart enough to not only think about themselves, but their future generations, because I'm sure they were thinking about their future generations. Everybody always thinks about their future generations when they immigrate. They want to bring their children here, their family here. They want to give their children and their children's children a better life.
Their life.
Right. Had they not done that, I wouldn't be here today. My grandparents probably would never have made it through the Holocaust. I wouldn't be here. There'd be no Bachelor alive. There'd be none of this. Yeah. So it's amazing what America does, and it's amazing when you make a decision about immigrating, how that not only affects you and your generations moving forward.
Legacy, yeah. Everything that we do today was certainly a step forward for our future, you know, our kids' legacy.
You know, I think about that all the time. If my great-grandparents didn't immigrate, I wouldn't even exist.
Right.
Right? I wouldn't
even be here. You know what's funny? I legit was thinking about that. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Outlander, but it's a show where someone goes back in time and they like see either their ancestors or just like back in like the 1700s. And I'm like, wow, like if I could do that and just talk to my ancestors and like see how they lived, you know, and like compare it to today, it's just wild that how it took one person to come to the States and like literally change our lives. If it wasn't for them, none of this would have, we would not have no show.
That's
we
right.
wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
it's
right.
wild.
That's right. And it's
I always wonder like what our life would have been like if they didn't.
Those decisions that you make to immigrate, to move from one place to another, not only changes your life, but it changes the rest of generation after generation after generation.
Wild.
You know, there was 1.5 million Jewish children who got killed during the Holocaust. 1.5 million Jewish children. Those children never got a chance to live, and had their parents decided to move somewhere else, maybe they would be alive today. Maybe they would have done something very special. You don't know. Now,
there's so many different stories during that time. This is actually one of them during history class, not because of, you know, the actual occurrences, but this is actually was always my favorite chapter to study in history, because going over dictatorships and how one person could have so much power over an entire community this way that would affect so many generations to come. And Brad, you never know, there's a lot of Holocaust survivors. So maybe you guys would have been that story, you know? I'm glad that not the story that we're telling today, but y'all could have been survivors as well and lived to tell the story.
That's very true. And not only that, we talk about as a theme, especially, you know, now that Pumpkin's gone, it's not as big of a theme. But it was always a theme of our show that authoritarian dictators who always did terrible, terrible things all got elected in a democratic free election. Even Adolf Hitler was elected in a democratic election, and then he just never left power. And then look what happened. Thank God Biden won. Thank God the rioters didn't overtake the Capitol.
Imagine. I hadn't seen that way.
Yeah. Now, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said Wednesday that remembering the victims of the Holocaust is an everlasting responsibility of Germany. In a video message at an event organized by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the United Nations, and UNESCO to mark Holocaust Remembrance Day, Merkel said she was deeply ashamed of the atrocities committed by the Nazis. We must resolutely oppose both open and covert anti-Semitism, the denial as well as the relativization of the Holocaust. I don't know what that means. The relativization of the Holocaust, I guess, making it as if it wasn't a big deal. We must always be vigilant in order not to leave any room for anti-Semitism or racism. I wish I got her quote better. I have to learn to read better.
It's all good.
Well, like you always say, you just kept reading though. I didn't feel you.
But I've said this even on the show before too. You know, on a separate note, if you don't know the answer, I learned this in law school. If you don't know the answer, just keep reading. You'll find it eventually. Just keep reading. Yes. You'll find it eventually. Biden's acting Attorney General, Monty Wilkinson, officially rescinded the Trump administration's zero tolerance program, which led to the separation of over 3,000 migrant families. The move officially removes the policy from the Justice Department's guidance to federal prosecutors and instructs prosecutors to use discretion when prosecuting misdemeanor border offenses. Now, the zero tolerance policy is that on the books, it is not just so everyone knows, immigration violations is a civil offense. The only criminal offense is to re-enter the United States after a prior deportation or to run across the border in an area and not be inspected by an immigration officer. Under the law, that is a misdemeanor offense. It's not a criminal offense to come here on a visa and overstay. It's not a criminal offense to be a stowaway on a boat, but it is a criminal offense to evade Border Patrol and run from them. That is a misdemeanor offense. Never been prosecuted until the Trump administration, and the Trump administration was prosecuting people, basically trying to prosecute people to use them as an example for others not to do it. It ended up separating families. There are still 3,000 children because what they did was they prosecuted the parents and kept the children in immigration detention. That was what happened with the family separations. And ultimately, there's 3,000 children who are missing. We have no idea where their parents are. That policy is now over. Today, Biden also signed orders elevating climate change at every level of the federal government. The orders will direct the Secretary of the Interior Department to pause on entering into any new oil, any new natural gas leases. The orders will prompt a rigorous review of all existing fossil fuels. Federal agencies will be ordered to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies, and Biden is going to direct agencies across the federal government to invest in low-income and minority communities that have traditionally borne the brunt of pollution. As a matter of fact, according to the United States National Library of Medicine, you know, climate change is an immigration problem, because we've talked about that. It's a problem, an agricultural problem. It's an immigration problem because as climate changes, people got to move. It's an agricultural problem because now you can't necessarily plant certain agricultural products in areas that would normally you would be able to grow those. It's a total ecological problem with animals, fish, rising waters, damaging shorelines, making parts of the world inhabitable. And as a matter of fact, Joe Biden today, he said that climate change is the #1 priority when they're talking about the national defense of the United States of America, the #1 priority that will determine movements and what the United States does moving forward to protect the United States from a military standpoint. They will be taking into account that one of the top priorities, climate change. Now, I don't know how that all gets involved in terms of troop movements, where we're going to get involved in certain areas, perhaps militarily, where we won't. We're going to have to see. But it is a complete change, and the first time ever in the history of the United States where they say climate change is a national security problem, and that is what is going to make a determination of when, where, and how we use our troops.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see how that goes as well. I don't know what that criteria is going to be, but you know.
I was just wondering, like, where that would even start.
I don't know, because I'm not an expert in troop movements or climate change. But we're going to read up more. You know, like what we said before, when you don't know the answer,
need you to wear that
more.
hat, Brad.
It's easy to read more, and we'll find out. But but climate change also affects minority communities in the United States probably more than it affects non-minority communities. According to the United States National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, homes in minority communities, especially low-income minority communities, have more asthmatic children than other homes in the United States. Now, asthma is caused by global warming. Gases, get up in the atmosphere, and I don't know all the medical issues around it, but basically gases trap things that cause asthma and doesn't have, the airflows and everything. Now, the home, this is what my card says, because I don't know the medicine and the science behind it, so let me read what my card says. Maybe somebody who wrote this would know.
Just keep reading.
Keep reading, right? The home is associated with asthma. It acts as both a reservoir of asthma triggers and as a refuge from seasonal outdoor allergy exposure. Racial, ethnic, minority families with low incomes tend to reside in neighborhoods with low housing quality. These families also have higher rates of asthma. It seems asthma is affected by air quality in the home, the quality of the building materials, the air quality outside the home. Factories and pollutions are more likely to be in poor communities, and the general lack of medical care in poor communities. Yeah, I know for years they've always been saying that people in urban areas and low-income areas have always had higher incidence rates of asthma, all caused by global warming and pollution. So hopefully...
Yeah, I remember...
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember us talking about that one time. I think it was a little African-American girl in the UK. I think she was like 9 years old who recently had passed away, and it was because of the asthma and her living in a rural area.
That is right. We talked about that about a week or two ago. It was the first time that a medical coroner said that the cause of death of a child was acute asthma from pollution. And now they've always said asthma, caused the death, but they never attributed it to pollution. It's always been attributed to pollution. Many of these, a majority, has been attributed to pollution, but it's never been officially attributed until just recently, and now Joe Biden is acknowledging it as well.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, there's an impeachment going on. We'll talk about that another day. Starting yesterday, as we talked about, you have to take a COVID test to get on a plane international. And now there is talk about having a COVID test to get on a plane to fly domestic in the United States, too. That rule has not gone into effect yet, but there is a lot of discussion. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the next week or two. Now, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there's over 55 million people have recovered globally from coronavirus. There is more than 426,000 deaths in the United States, more than all the American deaths during World War II. Why now all of a sudden is there COVID tests coming, requirements for international travel, and now perhaps even domestic travel? Well, there's now new strains of the COVID virus that are going around. These strains are more transmittable, not as necessarily more deadly, but more transmittable, meaning that it is more likely to be transmitted from one to the other, which would make this pandemic go on even more. Now they're talking about, I saw Fauci talking about you should be wearing 2 masks to prevent yourself from getting these more transmittable strains of the COVID virus, because viruses mutate. Viruses, I don't know, they must have a brain somewhere. They're smart. All of a sudden the body has antibodies to one, it mutates and still kind of squeezes in there. There's a bunch of different variants of the COVID virus going around. There's the original COVID-19, and then there is a British variant that was discovered in September, and they say it is 70% more contagious. There is a Brazilian variant. I don't know how much more contagious this is, but both the Brazilian variant and the UK variant have already been discovered in the United States of America.
Oh my God.
Now, the vaccines that they're giving out protect you from the original COVID virus. They protect you from the British variant. They protect you from the Brazilian variant. However, there is also a mutation coming out of South Africa. That mutation coming out of South Africa first detected in October and now spread to 20 countries, is 50% more contagious. And there is a concern. Moderna, who is one of the two companies that the United States is using to vaccinate their products, Moderna has come out and said that they are not certain that their vaccine will protect against the South African variant, and that they are now producing an additional booster shot to protect you against the South African variant that they may require you to take as well to have full protection. So the Moderna shots may turn from 2 to 3. We'll see over time.
Yeah, man, that just makes it even harder because you're finally getting to the people who didn't want the vaccine back then and are finally giving in to the 2 shots. Now you're talking about another booster. It's just like, sheesh. But at least, we have a president that's not going to lie to us and withhold this information. I'm happy to at least know it rather than, just wake up and it's like all these new strands and they're not doing anything about it.
The worst is to be lied to. There is nothing. There is nothing worse than to be lied to. There's nothing worse to be lied to by your leaders, by people you're in a relationship with, by your friends. There's not lying. There's no person. There's no good person in the world to that should be lying to you. But certainly not your leaders, right?
No.
Right? Do you like to be lied to by anybody?
No, especially when it's life-threatening, though.
Correct.
Like, you could tell me a little white lie just to
make you feel
save my feelings.
Life-threatening for millions.
Yeah, like
for millions.
Like for example, like I told you earlier, boy, that peach shirt, very handsome in that peach shirt. That could have been a white lie. I'm just saying it could have been. It wasn't. I really believed you looked handsome, but it could have been a white lie just to save your feelings.
Exactly.
Very different about lying over a pandemic. Yeah. Different from lying over an entire pandemic.
I'm only kidding. I like the peach shirt. I never even called Yo-Yo before and said, I love the peach shirt. I didn't say anything. Right. It was the first time I made that up. But
I would take your constructive criticism though, right. Because you're always fresh with your little Burberry and stuff. So I'll take it.
Let me tell you something, Yo-Yo. There is nobody fresher on this screen besides you and Boss Lady. I'm taking a back seat to the two of you on that one.
No, right? Not at all. Not at all. Everything that you got on right now is worth more than what me and Boss Lady got. But
what's important, and I'll be honest with you, okay, it's not the value of what you're wearing. It's not the value of what you're wearing. It's how you put it all together and how you pull it off.
It's true.
So there's a lot of people who wear very expensive clothes and very expensive things, and they just look like trash, and they look cheesy. They don't look good. They're not together, and it's just one big catastrophe or advertisement for whoever they're wearing. Right.
I'll let you know that it's not your case. That's not your case.
Is that a white lie? Is that a white lie or is that real?
That's the very truth. I actually don't tell white lies. I just don't say nothing. If you ask me, I'll be like.
But you guys, whatever you wear, you pull it off and it looks great. So that's most important. I mean, you were already.
This is a great part of the show where we just compliment each other. I actually like this part.
Oh, I miss these bigger camels.
Yes, the dating app Bumble temporarily suspended its political filter. People were using the political filter. I guess on Bumble, you can put a filter on your profile that says whether you're a liberal or Democrat or conservative. And what people were doing was the rioters who came to Washington who were single, who were on Bumble, had put in their filter that they were conservative. And now people who are on the dating app who lived in Washington were using that information to send to the FBI to say, go check this person out. They claimed they were a conservative. They just showed up in Washington for the week. And the FBI was able to use their dating app, Bumble, to follow up on people to see if they were part of the rioters. So here we are, some single women, or perhaps, I guess there's same-sex Bumble as well, but some single people taking their own initiative, doing their own sleuthing, and calling out people who just showed up in Washington, D.C., who claimed they were conservative that week, sending their information to the FBI. Were these one of the rioters? a Twitter user by the name of Allison Norris. She had said that she knew of someone who had changed her Bumble profile to conservative to find Republicans who took part in the Capitol storming. So people were actually changing their profile to match with other conservatives. Norris said she's matching with the MAGA bros, and they're bragging and sending her pictures and videos of them in the Capitol, and she's sending them off to the FBI. Nobody ever said these MAGA bros were very smart, did we? Yeah. They are single and dumb. They're single for a reason, I guess, right?
Right. But I heard that they took out the actual, like, the political views or, you know, the option to say what you represent. I heard they took it off because of that.
Yeah, they did take it off.
But it helped.
Yeah, the company said to prevent misuse, they have already removed any users that have been confirmed as participants in the attack of the United States Capitol, but they are taking off the filter that says whether you are liberal or conservative. They don't want to get involved in this.
Yeah, that's true.
Meanwhile,
that's funny.
Meanwhile, we can't stop talking about Gwyneth Paltrow's candle. This smells like my vagina. We can't stop talking about it on Hump Day. I don't know why. It keeps coming back.
Out again?
Yes.
We need to get a cut off of this.
We do. We need to actually buy the candle. And we should
smell it.
We should be burning this candle every Wednesday during Hump Day.
Actually,
we could, right?
I don't know why we're not.
I'm sure we can expense it.
Yes, I'm
sure we can expense it.
I don't know why we're not. We should be, like we have tea on Tuesday. We should be burning Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina on Wednesday, candle vagina. Oh, you have it there? Is that you have it? Yo, boy.
No, that's different. That's his bachelor. That's his bachelor.
I thought that was it. That's very funny.
But I'll be ready.
I don't even know what it looks like. I would have believed you. I have no idea what it looks like. But apparently somebody was burning their flames where else in the United Kingdom, and the candle blew up. According to the Sun from the UK, the candle exploded and emitted huge flames with bits flying everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. The whole thing was ablaze, and it was way too hot to touch. There was an inferno in the room. That's what Gwyneth Paltrow's ex-boyfriend said too.
Oh gosh.
But
right.
Oh goodness gracious.
You see, like, the squatters in the comments today, they are.
Yep. That candle could get way too excited, I think.
Yes.
Look at me. I'm getting excited thinking about it, right?
Right. I still say we should get it.
I want to get it
now. Brad.
I would love for that thing to explode.
I actually do want to smell it now at this point. Talk about
conversations that are only allowed on a Wednesday.
Exactly.
Gwyneth is exploding vag. Got it.
Meanwhile,
on to the next story.
A Taco Bell employee by the name of Lonna Wells, she's out of a job. She applied for a job in Newport, Arkansas, and after working there for a week, she was fired when it was discovered that she was an actual porn star who actually received 2 AVN award nominations for whatever it was, I guess best sex scenes or whatever it was. She was out of work because they're not doing any porn right now during the pandemic. She needed some work. So she went to work at the Taco Bell and they fired her. I don't think that's right.
Is that against the law? That cool?
No.
Like, are they okay to do that?
They're perfectly. I
feel like that's foul.
No, you can fire somebody for being a porn star. It doesn't represent your What you can't fire somebody for is because they're a woman.
Is gender or
gender orientation. You can't fire them because of their skin color, because of their religion. But you can fire them for being a porn star. Why not? I don't agree with it. What?
What would be Taco Bell's case though? Like, how is this a harm to the work? Like, how is
representation?
Well, it's just I think maybe either some of the employees felt uncomfortable, perhaps. I don't know. Let me read what the card says. She told the Daily Beast she was about to clock into work when her manager called her to fire her. She's pissed off because she said she told the hiring manager about her sex work during the interview and even asked if it was going to be a problem. Taco Bell, however, okay, so maybe there's a case now.
Yeah. Now that's not
However, Taco Bell claims Wells was not fired for her porn credentials. Aha! They're covering their ass. Instead, the company says she was instead terminated for violation of the policies and procedures. However, they didn't mention which policies and procedures she violated. Lorna is now raising money online, claiming she was wrongfully terminated. It could end up being a wrongful termination because if she told them about it and then they got fired after the fact, then it could be a gender discrimination. Absolutely. You can totally turn that into a gender discrimination case.
Yeah, that's not cool.
That ain't cool at all, Taco Bell.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, she totally has a case.
From now on, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, we're going to Chipotle.
Listen.
No more Taco Bell for me.
Dinner tonight.
No more Taco Bell for me.
At least Chipotle use real meat. I don't think Taco Bell meat real.
I don't. Well, I think you're slandering Taco Bell. I just want to say Bradshaw Live does not endorse Yo-Yo's position that the Taco Bell meat is not real.
Hey,
we have no proof of that.
We have no proof of that, but they shouldn't have fired a porn star.
I agree with that, though. That I agree with.
Yeah, that, especially if she made them aware of her past.
Right.
The first viral fashion trend of 2021 is here. You guys are big on Instagram. The butt crack leggings. You know what that is? You guys familiar with that? What? They have been called butt perfecting by Cosmopolitan. And the users such as Devin K. Olson, a self-described leggings queen, try on the snug bottoms and show off their behinds. Now, oh my God, please go buy these, she says while flipping her hair and admiring her bootylicious. Everyone from influencers to heavy lifters started posting reviews of the leggings on Amazon this fall. They so far have a whopping 15,789 five-star reviews.
Oh my goodness. What?
It is the new
I feel like I keep seeing these all over. I see them all over Instagram. These.
What is this guy saying? I can't even read
it. You just formed what? Wow. Woo.
Yeah.
You guys watch? I don't watch The Bachelor at all. You guys watch The Bachelor? Are you like Bachelor obsessed?
I only follow them.
I just know they have the first black Bachelor. That's all I've been seeing online, but
yeah,
I don't
Matt
watch
James.
it.
I just kind of can't believe that it took The Bachelor this long to have an African American Bachelor.
They needed like riots and Black Lives Matter to do that.
Which is probably why I don't watch it.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm just even reading here in my card right now. It says franchise has been criticized for over a decade for its absence of diversity. Now
over a decade. That's crazy.
Now Rachel Lindsay, the first.
They have so many seasons.
There was one black female bachelorette, Rachel Lindsay, and she has called out the contestants' racist behavior. One of her suitors was Lee Garrett, who not only had a racist tweets, but labeled the black contestant aggressive and accused him of playing the race card. And Lindsay previously called out producers for showcasing her as an angry black female at the end of the season. She explained on the Ringer podcast that while it's lovely that producers finally cast a black man as the lead after 18 years, she was cautious about celebrating as if all problems were now solved. If anything, Lindsay said the move was the bare minimum and the easiest thing to do. In 2012, two black men who auditioned for the series filed a racial discrimination class action lawsuit against the show. So now, last month, former Bachelorette star Hannah Brown said the N-word on Instagram while she was singing along to the Baby's rock star, only to laugh it off and then deny she even said it.
Wow.
And when a Good Morning American anchor asked current Bachelor Matt James if his casting was too little too late, he responded, "I don't think it's ever the wrong time to do the right thing." Okay, that's a good answer for him because he's the star of the show.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, very good answer. He also acknowledged that while The Bachelor is certainly a guilty pleasure representation on TV, especially in front of as many viewers as The Bachelor reaches, it's still an important aspect of our culture. Meanwhile, Brittany Galvin, was this the, no, that was somebody else. Brittany Galvin, one of the contestants.
One of the contestants.
Yeah, she's been now accused of being an escort. As a former, they brought in an escort. However, she refuses the claim about being a sex worker, saying, "No, I'm not an escort. It's ridiculous to say." However, one contestant alleges on the show, "I've heard two different terms going around. I've heard sugar baby and escort." Another contestant alleged that someone may be having a transactional relationship with very wealthy men. What do you think? I don't know. I have no idea. It's possible.
I think that at the end of the day, it goes back to what I was saying. No escort shaming, no slut shaming, no porn star shaming. If that's what she did to make her money, people were ready to pay. So, I mean, more power if she did. But if she didn't, then she didn't.
And finally, The Bachelor doesn't have enough issues for this season. Here's another issue. I just turned the card. The season started with a bang when a contestant named Katie bought Bachelor Matt James a vibrator. She hid the device behind her back as she launched into a monologue about how quarantine had been tough for her, but she'd gotten through it thanks to her trusty pink vibrator. One person who didn't mind was the Bachelor himself. Matt said it was a great icebreaker. He added, "It takes a lot of balls to do something like that. She's super confident. I respect it. I wasn't upset at all." Can you imagine bringing a vibrator on television and saying, "Here it is"? I mean, you got to have a lot of confidence for that one.
I mean, you also have to understand that these contestants, like when you're doing a reality show, I was on a reality show where it was a contestant type of show. You have to do these type of things in order to stand out from all of the other contestants. So it doesn't surprise me.
You were on The Hustle, right?
Grand Hustle.
On
BET.
What did you do? What was the most extreme thing you did to stand out?
So honestly, everything that I did was just me being me, and that right there made me the star of the show. I was on every episode because of me being me. So obviously the most outrageous thing that I did, if you guys go on YouTube and put Jonathan Elias and Grand Hustle, you will see, I think, Brad, you might have seen the scene of me in the pool. I had a little libations, it was a little turn.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this clip, Yo-Yo.
Yes,
I'm going to have to check this out after this.
I've Googled Yo-Yo and Grand Hustle. I've done it. It's a guilty pleasure I have. When I'm bored, I like to watch Yo-Yo's clips.
Yeah, Dr. Love was in the building on that episode.
I was just going to say, that's the Dr. Love that stuck out in you in that show. That was the Dr. Love in you, boy.
Yeah. So I understand what these, contestants are going through.
All right. Well, there he is. There he is. With that look. Don't F with me. Was that your "Don't F with me" look?
That was when I was the leader of a project, and they were getting on my last nerves. Like my team was getting on my last nerves. So I'm telling you, I was a character on that show.
All right. Well, that was our hump day. It was a very mild hump day for today. Still don't want to watch The Bachelor. I have 18 years of Bachelor. I've never watched one episode.
I could have sworn you were like...
I only saw one season.
Never saw one episode. I don't know anything about it. I just read it as I see the cards. What?
You sure?
I've never watched The Bachelor in my life. Maybe I've watched 10 minutes of it and then almost wanted to vomit in my mouth, but that's about it.
You like Survivor?
I did like Survivor. I liked Amazing Race. I thought Amazing Race was a great show.
I like those kind of reality shows. I like the challenge and obstacle one.
Yeah,
the loved ones. I'm a little like.
Yeah, it's cheesy to me. Yeah. I like where there's like you have to overcome something.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, I have to tell you the truth. I loved Apprentice before I knew Trump was a pumpkin.
That was my favorite show.
I loved Apprentice before I knew Trump was a pumpkin.
Celebrity Apprentice.
Yes.
No, that was
it was a great show. Right.
Great show.
If Trump just stayed there and kept his mouth shut, I would like him today. I'd have no problem with the guy.
I liked him when he was. I liked him at Apprentice. I used to watch that faithfully.
That's what made him. That's what made him president, by the way.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Apprentice, he wouldn't be president.
For sure.
He would never have been president. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.